Hi, and we are live. Welcome all of you watching on YouTube and Dobbs in Facebook. Tonight, it's a very special night, and I've got the team from Doctors Without Borders, or if I say it correctly in French, Medecins Sans Frontieres, something like that. And it's a very special evening because the team from MSF will like you to understand something about medical care in emergency settings and what you as a doctor can do. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to maybe I'll introduce Polly first. Polly will be giving an introduction and then followed by a special presentation by Dr. Wong Po Fei, who is on my left there. Okay, Dr. Wong will be sharing her experience with the MSF and the rest of the team with Nestle, Wendy, and Baldwin. So thank you all for joining us tonight and sharing what MSF is doing, and perhaps it might inspire some of our doctors to also take part in volunteerism. So, Polly, I will put you on the stage. Do you want to show the slides from Nestle? Polly, you're muted. Yeah. Oops, she's left the stage. I think something wrong with the connection. Maybe she can come back in. Or somebody want to take over? I think there's probably something wrong with Polly's connection. Yeah. Okay, she's back. Oh, no, that's... Polly's not on the stage. She's left. Wendy, do you want to say something about... You're muted. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I try to introduce MSF to you all, and then can I have the slides, or I can do it without the slides, and then we can. Yeah. Yes.
The slides are on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so actually MSF stands for Medecins Sans Frontieres, our French name, or in English you can call us Doctors Without Borders. We were founded in 1971 by a group of doctors and journalists. They wanted to deliver emergency medical aid to wherever in the world it was needed and speak out about what they witnessed. In conflict situations, MSF's actions are guided by its principles of impartiality and neutrality. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay, in conflict situations, MSF's actions are guided by its principles of impartiality and neutrality. This means delivering aid without any form of discrimination, giving priority to individuals at most immediate risk, and not siding with any of the boring parties. Central to MSF's identity is also a commitment to independence, and independence fostered by our financial autonomy. Almost all of our funding is provided by the generosity of millions of private donors from across the globe. Polly, hi, welcome back. Do you want to take over? Because the slides is...
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. But I believe Wendy has already started introducing MSF. So anyway, as I think I'll just recap it a little bit. So Doctors Without Borders, I'm sure like some of you already know what MSF is. So Doctors Without Borders, or Medecins Sans Frontieres, is an international independent medical humanitarian organization. So our organization was created in the belief that people should have access to healthcare and that people's medical needs outweigh respect for national boundaries. And of course, this is reflected in our name. So that's why we are called Doctors Without Borders. Next slide, please. So we are a global movement. So we provide support to people in over 70 countries around the world. So 50 years ago, or in 1971, we were founded not just by a group of doctors, but also journalists. This is why our social mission is not just about providing medical care, but also témoignage or witnessing or speaking out on behalf of our patients. So today we are made up of tens of thousands of health professionals, logistics and supply experts, as well as administrative staff, bound together by our passion to help people in need. So in 2019, we had over 51,000 local staff, complemented by thousands more who left to work in our different projects overseas. And in 1991, MSF was a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of our pioneering work in several continents. Next slide, please. So we always put our patients first. So access to our patients is very important to us. We often go to places in which we are the only INGOs present. We provide medical assistance to people who are victims of conflict, natural disasters, epidemics and pandemics such as the current COVID-19 pandemic, social violence and exclusion. So just as an example, here in Southeast Asia, we responded to typhoons in the Philippines, such as in the aftermath of Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, which was the strongest typhoon to ever hit the country, the siege of Marawi in southern Philippines, the triple disaster of a 7.4 earthquake, tsunami, and liquefaction in South Sulawesi in Indonesia. In Malaysia, we are providing support to refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers, which include the Rohingya communities in Penang. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were also present in France, Belgium, the United States to provide support to vulnerable people, such as the homeless, the elderly, among others. Next slide, please. We respond fast. We have our very own supply and logistics chain, which enable us to deliver supplies and deploy specialized teams anywhere in the world within 72 hours. So in the Philippines, 22 hours after the Typhoon Haiyan hit, we were able to put people on the ground, and within 3 days, we were able to start treating patients. So that's how we work. Next slide, please. So we work where we are needed the most. As I've mentioned earlier, we are in over 70 countries all over the world. In Southeast Asia, we are present in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. Our biggest operation in Southeast Asia is actually in Myanmar. We also have presence in Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Next slide, please. So in Malaysia, I've already mentioned that MSF has been providing healthcare to refugees, asylum seekers, and undocumented migrant communities, and we have been doing this since 2015. So in 2018, MSF set up a fixed clinic in Butterworth, where we provide primary healthcare, mental health services, psychosocial support, as well as counseling. We also run a weekly mobile clinic in collaboration with a call to services, or ACTS, to reach patients in remote areas in Penang. During this COVID-19 pandemic, our team provides health education to refugee and migrant communities in different languages, as well as support hospital referrals with Rohingya and Burmese translations. MSF also started a COVID-19 health promotion campaign within the Rohingya community, and we are currently still doing this with our Vision, which is an online Rohingya news network. Next slide, please. So this slide provides a snapshot of our work in Malaysia in 2019. So as you can see, we have here the number of outpatient consultations, the psychosocial education, the mental health education sessions, among others, that we have been doing in the country. Next slide, please. So the generosity of our donors and supporters allow us to be financially independent and transparent. In 2019, 96.2% of MSF's income came from 6.5 million individuals, such as you and me, and private institutions worldwide. Our donors pay for millions of consultations, surgeries, treatments, and vaccinations every year. Next slide, please. So what else do we do? So MSF has actually set up two other arms. So one is the Drugs for Neglected Diseases initiatives, wherein we actually have an office in Kuala Lumpur. So it is a collaborative, patients needs-driven, nonprofit drug research and development organization that is developing new treatments for neglected diseases. So DNDI has been working a lot with the Malaysian government, especially on Hep C or hepatitis C. We have also set up the MSF Access Campaign, which advocates for effective drugs, tests, and vaccines that are available, affordable, suited to the people we care for, and adapted to the places where they live. So with COVID-19, we have been advocating for equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines, tests, and treatments, because we believe that medicines should not be a luxury. So I will end this presentation with a couple of snapshots that we have been doing, of what we have been doing in different parts of the world. So next slide, please. So here you can see what we have been doing in different parts of the world. So in terms of the numbers of consultations, vaccinations, births assisted, patients admitted, etc. Next slide, please. So here we have the other snapshot. So we have like the different diseases and health issues that we addressed in 2019. Next slide, please. So with that, I would like to remind you all that if you would like to post about our event, please use the hashtags hashtag we are MSF and hashtag MSF in MY or Malaysia. You can also visit us on our social media accounts. So on Facebook, we are, you can visit us by looking for @msf.malaysia. And on Twitter, you can just look for @MSF_SE Asia. I also would like to encourage you all to interact with us at any time during our presentation by posting your questions using the Q&A box. So thanks again for this chance that you have provided us at MSF to present about our organization. Now I will be turning you over to what I think is actually the most exciting part of the night. So a presentation from our Malaysian doctor about her experiences with MSF. So next slide, please. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my colleague. So she is a pediatrician from Malaysia. She joined Doctors Without Borders or Medecins Sans Frontieres in 2014 when she was sent to Sierra Leone to work alongside a team of 4 to 6 pediatricians in Gondama Referral Center, which is an MSF-run hospital providing a secondary level healthcare for pediatrics and obstetrical emergencies. So since then, she has done 4 more missions, which include managing the neonatology department of a maternity hospital in Afghanistan, ensuring the proper functioning of medical activities in the post-Ebola short-term intervention project in Sierra Leone, supporting daily clinical activities of the inpatient department and therapeutic feeding center in South Sudan, as well as monitoring medical activities for the survivors of violence, such as sexual, intimate partner violence, as well as domestic violence in South Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Dr. Wong Po Fei.
Thank you very much, Polly, for the very kind introduction. So hi, everybody. Very nice to meet you. Please call me Po Fei. Next slide. So the next slides that I have to share with you all are basically all a photo journal. And now in the climate of COVID, when we can't travel, let me take you on a journey with me through all the places that I've been with MSF for the last 4 years. And it's going to be going to places that are very unusual that you would probably never go to. Next slide. So a little bit about me. I'm a pediatrician from Malaysia, obviously. So I worked for a long time in Hospital Malacca before doing my district posting in Hospital Sarikei. And then I transferred back to Putrajaya before I bit the bullet and applied and was accepted to MSF. So in 2014, I left on my first mission to a place called Sierra Leone. Next slide. And mind you, when I first told my family that I was accepted to MSF. My mother really thought I was joking because she thought I was doing something in a Chinese movie that she saw. So in July 2014, I took a trip to Sierra Leone. Next slide. At that time, I didn't even really know where Sierra Leone was. It's in Western Africa. So I was sent to join a team of 6 pediatricians in Gondama Referral Center, which is a secondary level healthcare center that MSF runs in a small town called Bo. Next slide. Yeah, so that's where the Google pin, that's where Sierra Leone, and that's where Gondama Referral Center is. Next. So this is the small town of Bo in Sierra Leone. It's actually a very beautiful place. The top left photo shows our office compound in Sierra Leone. And this is the road that we pass through every day when we drive from our quarters to the Gondama Referral Center. Next. This is the Gondama Referral Center where I work for the next 4 months. It is a secondary level healthcare providing emergency services for pediatrics and obstetrical unit. And we also have a viral hemorrhagic fever center there, which is providing treatment for Lassa fever at the time. But very shortly after that, Ebola broke out. Next. And so this is the journey, the road. So the potholes are just to illustrate that there are new things to look at every day. If you thought the potholes in Malaysia are bad, well, this is the potholes there are in the road in Sierra Leone. Next. Next. So among the kind of conditions that we see, so Gondama Referral Center in Bo is really in a very rural area where patients have great difficulty accessing healthcare. And most of the time, by the time the patients actually manage to come, they are in quite dire situations. Infections that we see are really extreme. I mean, before I have been there, I've never seen infections like these before. And surprisingly, without the kind of healthcare that we are used to in Malaysia, they actually make it. It's very amazing. Next. Of course, we also get the good stories. So we also get very premature babies who, despite not having the high level of medical care or the ventilators, also manage to do very well. The girl in the middle is a girl that came in with very severe tetanus. And this is on the day of her discharge, which she made an amazing discovery. And we also ran a therapeutic feeding center for children with malnutrition. So these are the mothers who are happily lining up actually to get the therapeutic food for their children. Next. Of course, we can't talk about Sierra Leone in 2014 without talking about Ebola. So shortly after I arrived in Sierra Leone, the Ebola pandemic really broke out and it was very bad. And it was a huge challenge trying to keep running the activities in Gondama Referral Center. So trying to keep providing medical care in the climate of Ebola while preserving the safety of the staff and the patients that we had. And in the end, it was actually very sad, but it was a decision that we had to make for the safety of everybody that we had to close GRC. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Along the way, actually, we met many amazing people. I had the great opportunity to work with another 5 pediatricians from other countries. And it's not often that you actually get to go to a project where you are working alongside with other expat pediatricians, because most often they're not in the projects, you are the sole expat specialist there. So this was a really great opportunity. Yeah, and of course, with every mission that we have, it is always our aim to build the capacity of the local staff. So training is very, very important because at the end of the day, we want them to be independent. Next. Yes, of course, it's not always all about work. We spend a lot of time together with the locals and then getting to know the local staff and the community that we work in, that we serve. Next. And so the mission was supposed to be for 8 months, but it was cut prematurely short because of Ebola and also because we closed GRC. And then so after that, I came back and I went on my second mission to Afghanistan to host. Next. So next, in host, I was sent to work in a hospital to run the neonatal unit in a hospital that MSF ran in host. Next. And while I was there, the biggest challenge was to expand and to upgrade the neonatal unit. So I worked alongside with another 5 local pediatricians who are, as you can see, were there. And of course, initially it was quite challenging because they were all male and they were much older than me. And for them to really understand that who is this young Asian girl who is coming and who thinks that she knows better and stuff like that. And it was very challenging in the beginning, but in the end, actually, I must say we all became really good friends. Next. So in the field, in host in Afghanistan, there are actually multiple pregnancies are very, very common. So we had quadruplets and triplets all the time. And of course, comes to prematurity. The baby that I'm holding in the photo was actually quite a miracle baby. So that is, this is Salim. He had severe meconium aspiration syndrome and very nearly didn't make it. But thankfully, at the end, he did. I blogged about his story with the MSF blog. If you're interested, you can Google it and read. Next. And one thing about working with MSF is you are a jack of all trades. So creativity is something that will bring you very far. So you not only do clinical work, you will not only do admin work, but you also do logistics and designing and whatever else that is thrown your way. So here, actually, in one of the projects of the expansion of neonatal ward, I was involved in the design of a neonatal bed for the neonatal intensive care unit in a low-resource setting. And I worked together with the infection control nurse who was there, and together very closely with the logistics team. And we were very happy to come up with something that is used in a host until now. Next. So this is an example of the neonatal unit that we worked in. Next. Working with people of, so the team in host was fairly large, and you often work with people from different backgrounds, different nationalities, and because of that, you learn a lot about tolerance, about multiculturalism, and you learn how to work with each other as well as with the national staff. So it was a very amazing time. I remember that when I was leaving host, one of the local staff said to me, I wish you had come here under different circumstances when you can actually be outside the walls and we can show you what a beautiful country Afghanistan is, instead of just being inside the walls of the hospital. Yeah, so Afghans are really very friendly people. Next. And so after that, I went on my third mission, back to Sierra Leone again. And this time it was in 2015, and that was when Ebola had come to its tail end. And so because of that, many of the health structures and the health staff had actually been lost in the Ebola outbreak. And so we were there to do a short-term intervention to support the primary health units after the devastating loss of Ebola. Next. So we were there in Kenema district, which was where we were before, to support 123 primary health units, mainly to provide training to the health staff, and to support with providing drugs and medical supplies, and also to do supervision together with the district health management team. Thanks. So it was a very interesting time because we really got to go around in Sierra Leone. We visited all the 123 primary health units in the Kenema district, which was the hardest hit district in Sierra Leone. And we went through many different roads. It was amazing. Next. We got to meet the villagers, the health staff, listen to the stories, hear what they went through during the outbreak, and really got hands down. Next. We also had a lot of fun. So it's not always all about work. The camaraderie that you have together with the staff that you work together with and you live together with, the friendships that you build, it lasts a long, long time. I still keep in touch with many of the friends that I've met along the way. Next. And after that, I went to South Sudan in 2016 to work in a refugee camp. Next. In Maban County. So we have a primary healthcare clinic. MSF runs a primary healthcare clinic in Doro in Maban County in South Sudan. Next. And this is an example of the inpatient department and the emergency room that we have in our primary healthcare clinic, which was subsequently updated. Next. This is the example. This is our living conditions in South Sudan in a Doro refugee camp. So we lived in tukos, or what they call mud huts, in very basic living conditions. Next. And as you can see, even a simple task like frying an egg can be very innovative. I mean, I've never thought of frying an egg on the base of a fan, have you? And so that's our amazing cook, who, despite the harshest conditions, managed to come up with amazing meals with us every day. Next. And this is the amazing team that we work with. So we catered to pediatrics and also obstetrical emergencies and inpatient and outpatient department, as well as the therapeutic feeding center. Next. And also, you have to be very creative when you're in the field. We had play therapy with the kittens that we found, in the compound. We made do with whatever resources that we had. And as you can see, even the mothers get very creative because their kids stay a long time in therapeutic feeding centers, and even insects or grasshoppers can become toys and entertainment. Next. And so this is the amazing team that I worked with in South Sudan. Next. So after that, I was posted to South Africa in Rustenburg for a year. Next. This shows where Rustenburg is. So in Rustenburg, we had a very interesting project. I was the project medical referent, so in charge of the medical activities for a project responding to the needs of survivors of violence in the Bojanala district. So this area is a very unique area because it's in the platinum mining belt. And because of these, the social strata is very unique. So you get a lot of immigrants, and there is a high incidence of violence here. So 1 in 4 women, based on a survey that was done by MSF, have said that they have been a victim of sexual violence before in that place. So we worked very closely with the Department of Health to provide training to forensic nurses to ensure that the care for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence is up to par. Next. Sorry, next. Yeah. So these are the team of the nurses that we had, who we trained. We also supported the termination of pregnancy services in the Department of Health clinics, as well as provide health promotion in schools. And the school program that we had, I'm told is still running up till today. Next. Yeah. And we were visited by Joanne Liu, our international MSF president, in 2017. Next. Yeah. And of course, who can talk about South Africa without talking about going around and seeing the amazing places and the beautiful sceneries? So I got my fair share of that too. And of course, as always, with different teams and being there for a year, you have celebrations. of different kinds all the time. So, and this was a picture of New Year in Rustenburg, where we had Yi Sang. Next. So, what can doctors do to help in MSF? Well, actually, it's not only doctors that MSF needs, it's a lot of paramedical staff as well. I think it's always a huge leap for doctors to go from a comfortable clinical practice to a place out of your comfort zone. Next. Yeah, but it is always the first leap which is the hardest. And if you step out of your comfort zone, you will find that you'll be able to do amazing things. And looking back, I think for the 4 years that I spent with MSF was one of the most amazing times in my life. And I would never trade it for anything else. I learned a lot about humanitarian work, about living in tolerance, adaptability, resilience, and that how to go back to the basics, to use your basic clinical skills out in the bush and basic living. And you realize that actually you can live with very little, even though you're so used to the comforts of what you have, and you think that, oh, I need actually a lot of things. But when you go out there, you realize, no, actually, I can do with a lot of basic stuff. Next. And so that's just a little bit of sharing about the time that I had with MSF. As Polly has mentioned, if you have any questions, please post them and we will try our best to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bofe, for that wonderful presentation. Betty Tay says, truly enjoying this. Hope one day I'll be able to give back to society like you girls. Betty, MSF is waiting for you.
Yes.
Yeah. What does it take to join MSF as a doctor?
Well, it's just the leap, I would say. I think from my personal perspective, you always feel inadequate. You think that I may not have what it takes to go. And so you're always a little bit hesitant, but I would say just go for it. You never know until you apply. And from my experience, I can say that you don't have to be a specialist to think that you would be useful there. So, okay, I must wait until after I graduate, and then I do my training, and then I do the specialization, and then I would be useful. But I find that actually it's generalists who are the most useful out there in the field because of your adaptability. And I must say, even as a pediatrician, I've gone out and I've seen adults, I've done management work, I've done nursing work, I've cleaned the floors, swept the floors, yeah. So just do it.
Well, aside from taking the leap, okay, it sounds like super specialists are quite useless.
No.
Would it be, what sort of qualifications, maybe a certain age group, a certain skill set, or what does MSF look for? Languages, who should be applying? Yeah.
I think
all of us have. Sure. Nestle, his camera's not on, but yeah. And perhaps maybe MSF can share what are the characteristics of a qualified MSF volunteer. Betty says again, courage and compassion is what you need. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And Nestle will actually be having a presentation on the questions that you've asked.
Okay. Sorry, there's one more person. Yeah. Because some of the areas you've gone through, Bofe, are quite dangerous. Like Afghanistan, you've gone to Ebola outbreak, and those of us who've seen the movie 93 Days, I think we will be scared still about working in a place where there's an Ebola outbreak. So, hats off to you. Amazing journeys you've had. Okay. Hi, Nestle.
Hi, good evening. Sorry. yeah, hopefully I can explain or hopefully answer some of the questions on how to join us. But hopefully you all enjoyed Dr. Pofe's presentation, because I think from a HR perspective, I think she managed to give you more of the realistic experiences that you all will be experiencing should you join MSF. I'll try to show you the
before you start, maybe just one quick question from one of our doctors in Facebook. Would MSF recruit non-specialist MOs, medical officers, for its international mission?
So basically, we have several positions available or that we recruit. The only thing is we often have priority profiles, but nevertheless, at any given point, we often send out specific recruitments, or we have a general positions that we recruit for. So definitely, we never say no, but at the same time, we often would say, for example, let's say in South Sudan, there's a need for pediatricians. We might say, look, there are priority of pediatricians at the moment. So yeah, any medical profiles or non-medical profiles as well. At any given point, we do recruit.
Great, thanks. So do you want to share your any presentation, Nestle?
Yeah, let me just try to share screen again.
The screen is shared. Yeah, you can share screen again. Sorry.
Okay.
I think you have to reshare the screen.
I'm trying. Just 1 second, please.
Yeah. It's okay.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Can you please? Okay, you can see me? You can see the presentation?
Fine.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, in the next few minutes, I hope I can give you a bit more tips and understanding what is MSF looking for, or what you need to develop in order to become like Dr. Faye and maybe have some of her experience like yourselves. As some of you might have picked up in her presentation, these are some of the competencies I think she demonstrated and showed you and explained to you, whether it's about behavioral flexibility. As you could see, she's been from South Sudan to Sierra Leone to Afghanistan, and definitely being flexible and adaptable, either from the culture that you're working in, the working conditions, the living conditions that you're living in. It can test you from psychological, mental, physical, and even professional, because you might not have all the equipment or the capacity that you would normally have in a typical Malaysian hospital, for example, especially if you're in a very low resource setting environment. As you could see as well, teamwork and cooperation, whether it's with the other doctors, with the nurses, with the locals, sometimes even with the locals leaders, for example, or the other members of the community, if there's any medical activities that we want to promote or educate, or that we want to invite people to come to our clinic. Results and quality orientation, for sure, we would like to provide, of course, the best possible medical treatment, but at the same time to have clear goals of what you also want to achieve, what MSF want to achieve in a particular project. Is it to cure X amount? I don't know, if we're in a TB project, for example, or if we have a maternity project. So again, depending on the project that you're in, there's always a project plan that we follow. And of course, you as the doctors or as a team are the ones who implement those plans. In MSF, one of the major part, I think, as Dr. Fay has mentioned as well, it's not just about being a hands-on medical people, but a lot of work that you do is actually also management, not just from a teamwork, but also to manage an actual team. Some might suddenly manage, I don't know, 5 to 10 nurses or doctors, or maybe 20 or 200. So depending the size of your project. So for example, we have a project in Afghanistan, in Lashkar project, when there's 1,000 national staff working locally, and in every department, sometimes you'll have 200 to 300 in the maternity unit that the project medical referent, such as POFE's position, had to manage. So again, it takes different scenarios and different experiences, but nevertheless, these are the things that you build on gradually as you move up in the organization, but at the same time, as you get more exposure in various areas of the activity or medical activities that MSF is doing. These are, in the next slides, we just want you to really understand, and I think in some of POFE's photos, you've seen that as well. In some countries, like Afghanistan, security can be a big issue, or it could be a limitation, whether it's about your living condition, how you move, like in Afghanistan, where sometimes you're not able to move, or maybe we'll have to negotiate access in some of the local authorities. And this is something that you'll have to consider, because again, sometimes maybe your family might be scared for you to go. Living and working conditions, as again, Dr. POFE has also showed you, some of the conditions could be very, very minimal. You might be living in a tukul. I even, for example, sometimes share a mattress on the floor with other colleagues because it was an emergency mission. Again, the living condition can be very basic, but again, it always depends on which country, which mission, which project you go to, but it does vary. So again, you have to either have at least some good physical condition, because again, it can be tough. Maybe you sleep on the floor, or you don't get proper nutrition, as much as, of course, we do try to provide everything as much as we could. But again, you're in a different setting, you're far away from home. So this is also something that you really, really need to consider. Stress and fatigue, whether because of security, whether because you're overworked, whether because you're far away from home, you're not able to get out of the house because of security. So again, we have a lot of psychosocial support that we provide everybody. There's a 24-hour hotline in all parts of the world that as doctors or any MSF staff, local or international, is able to call for psychosocial support. We do, of course, try to provide rest and recuperation. And of course, you can always plan your holidays if you can, or when we could plan it. But at the same time, the work, whether you're in the middle of the war zone or in a pandemic, there is an aspect of stress and fatigue in the work. Cultural differences, again, this could be the fun thing, but at the same time, it could be a challenge. Whether your colleagues who might not speak English very well, or you're in a French-speaking mission somewhere in Africa, or maybe an Arabic-speaking mission in Yemen. And quite often, whether it's about the culture, the mannerisms, the language, much like in Asia, we're such a very multicultural nations, you'll always encounter different people from different countries, and it can be a source of tension sometimes. But as you also saw, it can also be a source of really, really good long-term friendships as well. Personal and family, again, this is probably sometimes one of the toughest, leaving your loved one behind, whether it's your mother, your father, your partner, your children. So this is something that you really need to think of when considering joining. Of course, every mission, the duration can vary. It can go from 3 months, it can go for 12 months, but nevertheless, being far away from home can be quite a challenge. So again, in other words, for us as MSF, there is really a strong demand or requirement to be flexible, because you'll be thrown in various situations that you might not always be familiar. And even someone like Dr. Pofe, for example, going from Afghanistan to South Sudan, even though she's been to missions in the past, it always still needs some certain adaptation, understanding of the culture, and having this can-do mentality. As you could see, as she said, sometimes she has to do the sweeping, maybe fixing the light bulb, on top of some of her medical work that she has to do. So again, as much as you do a really, really good, valuable work, it does have a lot of challenges that you really need to think of as well when considering joining. So to be concrete, these are some of the criteria that we are looking for. Unfortunately, it's not extensive. It will be on the website depending on the qualifications and whether you're a doctor or a nurse or an engineer, but these are the basics. So for all medical staff, we do ask to have, of course, the medical license and a valid degree. In some mission, you could not get into the country because we need to register your medical license into the place that you're working. For example, in Papua New Guinea, we need 2 years experience, clinical work, with the commitment, as I've mentioned. On average, it really depends on the profile. We know that, for example, some of the surgeons and anesthetists, they might have shorter availability due to the nature of their work. So sometimes we'll allow 6 to 8 weeks. But for example, for a lot of the doctors and nurses, we do really ask for them to commit for at least 3 to 12 months, and really depending also on where you're going. For example, right now with COVID, as you might know, in a lot of nations, they require the certain quarantine. So this sometimes cuts your travel, your availability. So again, we do ask to at least have some 3 to 12 months availability. In other countries, as I mentioned, whether you go to Congo or Central African Republic, French, of course, is very useful. So we do require you to be able to speak French, at least B1 level. If you don't speak B1 level, for example, there will be opportunities to learn French, but we do require you to have at least an A2 level of French. Or in countries like Syria, Yemen, Arabic, of course, would be an asset as well. So again, these are some of the qualifications we're looking for. But as I said, for more information, we will show you where you can reach the website. So please feel free to have a read and go over. And again, these are some of the medical positions that we're looking for. So again, whether it's from a surgeon to pediatricians. For example, in Papua New Guinea, we have TB project. In Pakistan, we have cutaneous leishmaniasis project. We have NOMA project in Nigeria. So again, it's not just some of this medical position. There are more extensive positions, but these are the, let's say, the common positions that we recruit. And then for the non-medical, as I've mentioned, people like myself who is a HR professional, or Polly, who's a communication specialist. We do have finance, engineers, electricians, mechanics, of course, to enable you as medical people to do your work as well. So this is our website. So please, we would ask of you to have a read. This gives you more information of how to apply, the process of applying, and all the criteria and the documentations that we would require. We also request for you to send your documents via this website because of privacy laws. So we really need you to upload your CV, but there's always a place where you can ask for questions that you don't necessarily need to go to the website directly. So Once you've been recruited, in general, it can take 6 to 12 months as well. And this is also the reason why you see that we ask of you to have a longer availability, because again, we recruit worldwide. There's almost 24 offices worldwide in MSF, and all of them recruits medical people and non-medical people from again, various parts of the globe. So at any given point, we have very limited positions in all the projects. So again, there's always a rotations that you have to wait for. So even though you got through and passed the recruitment, the matching phase itself could also take some time, up to sometimes 12 months waiting. So please don't quit your jobs or anything like that once you get through. And please also be patient, especially in COVID situation where borders, visas, flights are also very difficult. And once you reach the mission, there's definitely like an onboarding phase where you'll maybe have a few trainings, onboardings processes as well, before you even reach for what we call again your first mission. First mission, typically you'll have at least 6 months up to 12 months. And then of course, once you've done the 6 to 12 months, you will be, let's say, a second missioner, or what we call an experienced MSFer. So just to wrap it up, again, how you could support MSF, apart from, of course, being on board like Dr. Faye and working for us in the field, please follow our website, follow us on social media, share the news to your friends, colleagues, maybe your relatives, again, medical or non-medical. We welcome you. And of course, for example, I'm doing a big recruitment drive in Malaysia, especially for medical staff. So please contact me. We'll share my contact details and again, the website that we have. So please, if there's anyone, share the news, introduce us, let me know which organization or medical associations we can speak to as well, or maybe your colleagues or yourself, or organize such events like this. So again, there's many ways of contributing and joining MSF, not just being in the field. So please feel free to support us. So I think this ends the presentation, and we'll get some of your questions.
Great, Nestle. Thank you for that very clear information on how to help and support MSF. So if there are any questions, please do ask. There's one from YouTube watcher, Karab, who asks, Dr. Wong, Po Fei, how did you apply for leave for the mission? I guess this is upmost in the minds of the doctors, because we have jobs, and then if you don't want to resign, we have to apply for leave, and that will be the practical difficulty. Unless you're on your own in private practice, you just take off and go, So how did you do it, or what is your advice?
Well, I use my annual leave and unpaid leave. So I maxed out all the unpaid leave I was able to take, and I went to Sierra Leone. And after that, I guess I kind of decided, yep, this is what I want to do for a while, and eventually I resigned from government service.
You got to have very supportive bosses, I think.
Yes, you got to plead your case. I think it's very hard for the bosses to say no to you going for humanitarian work.
Yeah. I think for those in academia, you could take sabbatical. There's maybe that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
For those in private practice, just find somebody to cover you and off you go. In terms of volunteerism, the basic needs are what MSF takes care of. Is that right for the doctor? And we don't have to.
Maybe you mean for living and
yeah, the daily living.
Maybe just to explain, as medical staff in general, most of the costs are covered by MSF. So, for example, whether it's your flight to the projects, flight home. For example, if you sign up for 12 months, you get a free flight home. When you're in the mission, you actually don't have much expense because whether it's the lodging, the food, you get a stipend to spend locally. Plus, you also get a certain a contract with annual leave, sick leave, and a monthly salary as well. Of course, I can imagine as doctors, maybe not as much as you would earn in Malaysia, but we do provide allowances and other forms of compensation and benefit as well.
What about insurance? Is that
Yes, it's covered for the duration of your mission. You are insured up to 3 months after your mission. You're medically insured. Plus, depending, of course, where you're going as well, for any, how do you call it, potential cases or sickness, it's fully insured.
I suppose there's no such thing as. I wonder whether medical indemnity covers. Is that ever a consideration for those who volunteer? Perfect.
You mean our medical indemnity in Malaysia?
Yeah, I mean, no. It should something happen. I don't. I guess it may. It's sort of like inconceivable maybe in people's minds, but as doctors, we always worry about any medical legal issues which crop up.
Right. You mean medical legal issues in the field?
In the field, in the course of your humanitarian work, yeah.
Well, I must say that I don't rule out the possibility because we do work in many different contexts and sometimes in quite developed countries as well. But in the missions that I've been in, where it's kind of really hard living, I mean, people are actually fighting to survive. So, yeah, medical legal issues are kind of really at the far back at the mind. Yeah. But I'm sure, yeah, I don't have much experience on this. Maybe the others would know if there has ever been.
Sorry, can you clarify what does medical indemnity in Malaysia means?
So we're talking about medical legal issues in the field, in the mission. So, for example, where patients want to take legal action against us.
Well, in general, as we've mentioned, we don't have just medical doctors. We have local lawyers. We have lawyers in headquarters. So it really depends on the situation. We have a memorandum of understandings with the government, and we have legal counsels locally and abroad, depending on the issue, of course.
Okay. There's a question from Dr. Sujana. Actually, what is the salary scale for doctors during the period of service?
So at the moment, because again, it really depends on the first year. We have what we call an indemnity, and it's scaled around Asia. And at the moment, it's approximately, because again, depending on where you live, taxation of your home, etc., but approximately 1,300 euros. And again, once you pass the indemnity of 1 year, it can change or it will change. But the first 9 to 12 months, it's roughly 1,300 euros, excluding, again, all the per diems, the free flight homes and things like that. And again, sometimes there's the fluctuation of currency, inflation. That's why I said roughly 1,300.
So not really a salary, but like a stipend or something.
Exactly.
Huh? Yeah. And that 1,300 is for that period, the whole period of
every month. Every month.
Okay.
And then, for example, let's say if you're country X, you might have an extra, I don't know, $200-300 for food allowance, for example.
Yeah.
And again, once you're in the country, you don't have much expense because you don't pay rent, you don't pay transport, everything is provided. So I don't know how taxation works in Malaysia, for example. So apart from that, that's it.
Yeah. I think that would be. I mean, as long as we don't. I think doctors know you don't have to fork out on your own and support themselves there, as apart from their volunteer work, so to speak. It's not like they're expecting a grand salary or anything. But I think it's nice to know that there's a stipend and sort of taken care of during the course of volunteer work. Yeah. I guess the other thing is, have this these are very volatile areas and quite sometimes quite dangerous. Pove, I think in Afghanistan must have been quite scary if you can't get out of the compound, even until you're afraid of being kidnapped or something like that. We read all these things in the papers about even medical missions running into.
Well, um,
Did that ever cross your mind?
yeah, it's true. Sorry, the computer's a bit glitchy, so it might be a bit slow.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I must say that MSF takes the safety and security of the staff very seriously. So the safety and security of the staff is the utmost of utmost importance. So at any point, if MSF feels that being there will actually compromise your safety and security, they will always opt to pull you out. And as a worker in the field, as a volunteer in the field, you always have the option of saying, "Look, I don't feel safe here." You will never be forced to stay in a place where you feel that you fear for your life. Yeah.
Maybe just to complement.
So, having said that, of course, you can't go to every mission and say that, look, I can't be here. Yeah.
Maybe just to complement Dr. Fay, we also have colleagues who are in charge of security, like the country representative or the project coordinator. So again, you'll get properly briefed on what to do, where not to go, and some of the basic security rules in the country where you're going. So yeah.
So there'll be an orientation and period and so on. Yeah.
So even before you go, as part of your onboarding, there is a training on security. And then in every country that you go to, you will get cultural briefings and security briefings, just to really make sure that you're fully aware. And even before you accept, let's say, I've also been to Afghanistan myself, even before they say, do you want to go to Afghanistan or not, they send you a whole documentation for you to really read upon whether you really want to go or not. Because again, in certain countries, and not just security. So for example, maybe from my experience as well for Ebola, some family did not want me, for example, to go to Ebola and said, if you go there, you can't go back home because then we don't want you to bring Ebola back to our house. So it's not just about security, it's also some of the medical situation. So I don't know, Dr. Fay, if you experienced that as well.
Yes, precisely. I mean, even after I came back from Bo in Sierra Leone during the Ebola outbreak, when we had to do kind of a observation period in Brussels before we were allowed to go home. At that point, I think many of us actually went through the experience of feeling like an outcast, because people would look at you and say, "Oh, where did you come back from?" And you say, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, they think the connection is not very good. Sorry. Yeah. When Pove, yeah.
it's so yeah, safety, security, lots to think about.
I think we've lost Buffet. We can't hear you. It's okay. But there's a question from one of our doctors in Facebook. Any age cutoff for volunteers and any restrictions to doctors with medical conditions, for example, diabetes, hypertension, asthma?
So
Maybe Nestle? Yeah.
Sure. In general, regarding age, in theory, there's not so much restriction, provided, depending also on your profession. So, for example, if you're a doctor, as long as you have a medical license and you're able to practice medicine, it's okay. It depends also which countries where you have to go. When it comes to medical condition, so we have what we call a staff health unit, and basically it depends on the country where you go. They will say maybe for X country you cannot go because you have certain medical condition, but for example in South Sudan it doesn't really matter provided you're fit enough and you're able yourself, for example, to stay in a tent. There's not much restrictions. But for example, for COVID or for Ebola, there will be restrictions given the potential risks. Or for example, in Iraq, for people maybe with certain medical condition, because of visa, you will not be able to go to Iraq. So in general, the staff health unit will be able to consult and provide medical advice depending on your existing medical condition. But as I said, some countries might be limitation for you, but some will not.
Thanks for the question. So there's another one. What common operations are surgeons expected to perform? In terms of field operating theaters, what are the common things which MSF deals with?
Dr. Pofe, do you want to quickly reply?
Yeah, sure. Well, so it depends on the project that you're in. So, for example, if you're in a trauma hospital, it will be the orthopedic surgeon specialty, mostly to do with trauma. If you're in an obstetrical unit, so obstetrical emergencies, and the general surgical for the inpatient department. So, really depends on the kind of project that you're in.
Yeah. I suppose it also depends on the healthcare setting. Yeah. I think if it's a war-torn country, then I guess there will be more trauma surgery. But general surgery, what about things like, do you have missions specific to things like cataract or eye, or plastic surgery, cleft lip repair missions, that sort of thing? Or is it still just general missions that MSF deals with?
It does vary. Sorry, Dr. Pofe, you were saying?
Oh, well, I don't know exactly all the projects that we have worldwide, but I would say that we are still very much responding to emergencies. And so, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be, reconstructive surgery is possible in places where we have huge trauma centers. Yeah. Like repairing cleft lip and cleft palate. That one I'm not very sure. Yeah.
There is one specialized surgical project that I'm aware of in Nigeria that deals with Noma.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Very good. Any other questions anybody has for the team? Otherwise, I think the website, maybe I'll put it up again. This is your main website. So MSF dash Southeast SEH or Southeast Asia.org. And then the short link, if you want to look at the documents you want to apply to work with MSF. So that's bit.ly/work with MSF. I've checked it out, and actually the capitalization is important. So you got to put capital W here, and MSF. Otherwise, the link won't work. So that will take you to a page on how to work in the field, and what it takes to apply, what the recruitment process, the requirements, etc. A lot of links there. So please feel free to visit the MSF website. Any other contacts or anything else in which the viewers may reach you? Is there a phone number or something? It's all in the website anyway, I think. Yeah.
They can also contact us on our social media accounts. So we have the at msf.malaysia. Sorry, there was okay. So yeah, so it's at msf.malaysia, and on Twitter we have msf_SE Asia.
Okay, so you look for them in Facebook. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'll put up the email on screen. So that's info@seeap.msf.org. Okay, if you want to help MSF, you're watching on YouTube, you can like the video. That would help it spread via the YouTube algorithm. Feel free to share, because the YouTube video we are going live on will be hosted there, and people can continue to watch, and you can share with your friends and colleagues who you think might be interested in volunteerism or a life of adventure. I wish I was a lot younger, and not so super specialized.
Nakute, you can still go. You can still go. Trust me.
You can still go. It's never too late.
Okay.
I have worked with surgeons who are in their 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not there yet. Not there yet. Wait, not there yet.
That means you've just got many more years to go.
Oh, okay.
We can start your recruitment, Alan, on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. It must be quite difficult because of the COVID pandemic to actually recruit people now because of travel restrictions, etc., isn't it? I can imagine. Yeah.
Well, we've been really trying to beef up a lot about, let's say, our digital recruitment. And of course, for example, I'm piloting a lot of the recruitment in Malaysia. And again, because I can't travel as well, I'm currently based in Tokyo. We're really looking at digital platforms and networking sites to do all the recruitment. And of course, all the processes we'll do remotely.
Well, it's nevertheless, it's amazing how the internet can bring us together.
For sure.
Pofe, thank you very much. Pofe is in Brisbane. She's logging in from Brisbane. Polly, you're in Singapore, is that right?
No, I'm in Manila right now.
Oh, Manila, sorry. And Balvin is in. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Balvin is in
Malaysia.
Asia. And Wendy is in Hong Kong. Okay.
Wow.
So pretty global. I think it's nice to meet online. And thank you all very much for your sharing about MSF. It actually truly is eye-opening and inspiring, actually. I think you would have inspired some of our... there's one more question there. I think we missed it out. And I didn't pop up yet. Is a course in tropical medicine a must?
No.
No.
No,
because it really depends on where you're going and what are the
Yeah.
needs. So generalists is more than fine.
Okay.
And I must say, as doctors in Malaysia, you already have enough of a lot of very valuable experience in practicing medicine in the tropical climate.
And for those who worked in East Malaysia in very resource limited setting, I think you will have a taste of what it's like in such places as well, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a chance to broaden your experience, your life experience, and also not just help others, but for yourself. I mean, you really broaden your life experience and increase your karma by manyfold, I think. Yeah. So I think don't I think we've covered a lot, and so I just want to thank you all again. So I just put up the links. If you want to know more, please go to the MSF website, which is msf-southeastasia.org. And then the specific link there, you go to bit.ly/workwithmsf. And then or look for MSF Southeast Asia in Facebook. All right. So, okay. So I think without further ado, I just want to thank you all again, and it's been a great evening with MSF, and let's see inspired docs from Malaysia get in touch with you. Okay, so don't forget to share this video with your colleagues and anybody who might be interested. Okay, younger doctors.
Thank you very much, Dr. Day.
Yeah, thank you, Pofei. Thank you,
Thank you.
team, MSF team, Polly, Balvin, Wendy, and last but not
Thank
least,
you.
Leslie. Good
Thank
night,
you so
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, good night. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Okay.